I nearly ignored the envelope when it dropped through the letterbox. Cream-colored, embossed with gold trim, and bearing a family crest I hadn't seen in years. My fingers trembled slightly as I opened it, the scent of lavender reminding me of the cold drawing room in Somerset House. The invitation was clear. The Whitmore Family Reunion. Saturday, 3 o'clock. Garden reception at Somerset House. Signed by Victoria Whitmore herself. My cousin. My tormentor. It had been nearly 10 years since I last saw any of them. After my father passed away and I was all but erased from the family legacy, I built a quiet life in Brighton with my daughter, Eliza. I had no desire to return to that web of judgment and whispers. But something inside me, perhaps curiosity, perhaps foolishness, nudged me to say yes. Mummy, why are you looking at that paper like it's bad news? Eliza asked, climbing onto my lap. It's an invitation, sweetheart, I said, smoothing down her curls. To see the family. Family like Uncle Peter? She asked. I smiled weakly. Sort of. Eliza's eyes sparkled. Will there be cake? That made me laugh. There usually is. The day of the reunion came too quickly. I wore a navy blue dress, simple and clean, while Eliza insisted on her sunflower-patterned frock. We took the train to Somerset, arriving just as the church bell chimed 2. A chauffeur in a pressed uniform opened the gate, and the grandeur of Somerset House unfolded like a dream I had long buried. The garden was filled with manicured hedges, white parasols, and people sipping sparkling water from tall flutes. And there they were. Victoria, in a tailored ivory suit. Hugo and Beatrice with their smirking eyes. Uncle Charles, who hadn't spoken to me since Father's funeral. Well, look what the cat dragged in, Victoria said without even a smile. Hello, Victoria, I replied, gripping Eliza's hand tighter. Beatrice glanced at Eliza and arched a brow. And this must be your project. Her name is Eliza, I said coolly. She's my daughter. How quaint, Hugo murmured. Still playing house, are you? Before I could speak, Eliza tugged at my hand and whispered, Mummy, they're being rude. I knelt down and whispered back, That's just how some people are, darling. It doesn't mean we have to be like them. Victoria was already ushering everyone toward the marquee for the opening toast. I followed in silence, feeling eyes on my back, the weight of whispers unspoken but heavy as lead. And that's when I saw it. A portrait hanging near the staircase of the main house. One I hadn't noticed before. It was unmistakably of my father. But beside him stood a little girl who looked nothing like Victoria or Beatrice. She looked like Eliza. I blinked, but the crowd moved on, and I had no time to ask. Something had shifted. And this reunion was about to stir more than just old resentments. The evening sun cast long shadows over the Somerset House gardens as I stood near the portrait, unable to tear my eyes away. The resemblance between Eliza and the girl in the painting was uncanny, and my heart pounded with a mix of confusion and hope. I overheard Victoria speaking softly to Hugo. We must keep this quiet. If anyone finds out the truth, it will ruin everything. I stepped forward. What truth? I asked, voice steady despite the turmoil inside. Victoria's eyes narrowed. Some things are better left buried, Eleanor. Eleanor. The name sounded strange coming from her lips, but it was mine. I had not used it in years. I glanced down at Eliza, clutching her favorite sunflower plush. Who is she? I demanded, pointing to the girl in the portrait. Beatrice scoffed. That's a nonsense story from years ago. Your imagination playing tricks. But I knew better. That girl was part of my past, and maybe the key to why I had been pushed away. As the crowd moved towards the dining hall, I noticed a small, folded note slipped under the portrait's frame. Curiosity overwhelmed me, and I bent down to pick it up. The handwriting was unmistakably my father's. Trust no one but Eliza. The truth lies beneath the oak. Beneath the oak? There was only one ancient oak tree in the garden, gnarled and towering by the edge of the property. I pocketed the note and shared a glance with Eliza, who looked at me with wide, trusting eyes. The reunion felt like a trap now. Every smile, every polite word, seemed to hide a threat. I had come seeking family, but what I found was a secret that could shatter us all. And so, as the guests raised their glasses in a toast, I made a silent vow to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. The night deepened over Somerset House, and the guests had long retired to their rooms after the exhausting day of reunion and uneasy conversation. Eliza was asleep in the guest room, her small chest rising and falling gently, while I sat alone by the great oak tree, clutching my father's note. Moonlight filtered through the ancient branches, casting eerie patterns on the ground. I traced the words in my mind again. The truth lies beneath the oak. Could it really be that simple? The idea of a secret buried under the tree where I had spent countless hours as a child sent a shiver down my spine. I circled the base of the tree, eyes scanning for anything out of the ordinary. The earth seemed undisturbed, but as I knelt down, my fingers brushed against something cold and metallic. My heart raced as I uncovered a small, rusted box hidden beneath a thin layer of soil and dried leaves. With trembling hands, I opened it. Inside was a bundle of letters tied with a faded ribbon, a locket engraved with a family crest, and a folded piece of parchment. I unfolded the parchment carefully, revealing a letter written in my father's precise hand. "Eleanor," it began, "if you are reading this, then I fear the shadows have caught up with me. The truth I could not speak aloud must now be yours to bear. Our family's legacy is not as it seems. I beg you to protect Eliza, for she carries the key to our salvation." The weight of those words crushed me. What legacy? What salvation? And why Eliza? My thoughts were interrupted by footsteps behind me. I spun around to see Victoria standing there, her face cold and unreadable. "You shouldn't be meddling," she said quietly. "Some truths are too dangerous." I stood my ground. "Then tell me, what have you been hiding?" Victoria's eyes flickered with something like regret. "You weren't meant to come back, Eleanor. The family secrets were supposed to die with your mother." My breath caught. My mother? What does she have to do with this? Victoria sighed, as if burdened by 1,000 regrets. "She was the one who tried to protect you from this darkness. But it wasn't enough." A sudden chill crept down my spine. I felt the pieces falling into place, yet the full picture remained elusive. Victoria turned and walked away, leaving me with more questions than answers. I clutched the locket tightly, feeling a strange warmth emanate from it. Back inside, I found Eliza awake, eyes shining with curiosity. "Are we safe, Aunt Eleanor?" she whispered. I smiled softly. "I don't know yet, but I promise I'll keep you safe." As the clock struck midnight, I knew my journey had only just begun. The shadows of the past were closing in, but I was determined to shine a light on the truth, before it consumed us all. The following morning, a heavy fog lay thick over Somerset House. The estate seemed even more imposing under the grey sky, its stone walls damp with dew. Determined to uncover more of my father's secrets, I headed towards the attic, a place I hadn't entered since I was a child. The wooden stairs creaked under my feet as I climbed, the air growing colder with each step. Dust motes danced in the narrow beams of light that filtered through the grimy window. The attic was cluttered with old trunks, faded portraits, and forgotten relics of generations past. Among the scattered items, I found a leather-bound journal. Its pages were brittle but legible. The handwriting inside was unmistakably my father's, but the entries were dated decades before I was born. As I read, a story unfolded of a family torn apart by betrayal and sacrifice. My great-grandfather, Edward, had been a man of ambition but also a secret guardian of an ancient family legacy linked to the oak tree. The journal hinted at a dangerous feud with a rival family, the Blackwoods, whose influence stretched far beyond Somerset. One entry stopped me cold. It described a clandestine meeting under the cover of darkness. My great-grandfather's attempt to protect a precious artifact that could change everything. The location? The cellar beneath the house. Heart pounding, I hurried downstairs, unlocking the heavy door that led to the cellar. The musty air greeted me as I descended the stone steps. My flashlight beam swept across the cold walls, finally landing on a hidden trapdoor concealed behind old wine racks. With effort, I pried it open to reveal a small chamber. Inside lay an intricately carved wooden box. I lifted the lid slowly, uncovering a collection of documents, a sealed envelope, and a small ornate key. The envelope bore my mother's handwriting. Trembling, I broke the seal and pulled out a letter. "My dearest Eleanor, if you are reading this, know that I have always loved you. The dangers surrounding our family have forced me into silence, but I entrusted this key to protect you and Eliza from harm. The truth is more than just old grudges. It is a burden we must carry to the end. Use this key wisely, and trust no one. With all my love, Martha. Questions swirled in my mind. What did this key open? Who could I trust? And what was the true nature of the family curse hinted at so often? Before I could ponder further, footsteps echoed above. Victoria's voice called out, sharp and commanding, "You shouldn't be down there." The game of secrets was far from over. The shadows were closing in, and I had to decide who to trust before it was too late. The tension in Somerset House thickened as the days passed. Victoria's warning echoed in my mind, yet my resolve only grew stronger. There were too many unanswered questions, and too many secrets hidden beneath the surface of this imposing estate. I decided to confront Victoria directly. I found her in the drawing room, the afternoon light casting sharp shadows on her stern face. Her eyes flickered with a mix of anger and something else. Fear, perhaps. "Why did you warn me?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. She sighed, the hardness in her features softening. "Because there are things you don't understand, Eleanor. This house has been a battleground for decades. The Blackwoods aren't just a family. They're a force that will stop at nothing to claim what they believe is theirs." Her words chilled me. I had always thought the feud was just old family gossip, a story told to scare children. But now it was clear the danger was very real. Victoria revealed that my mother, Martha, had once tried to broker peace between our families but had failed. Since then, Victoria had been guarding the estate, protecting me and Eliza from unseen enemies. Just then, a loud crash echoed from the library. We rushed there to find the windows shattered and papers strewn everywhere. Among the chaos lay a threatening note. "Leave Somerset House, or suffer the consequences. The Blackwoods are watching." Fear gripped me, but alongside it burned a fierce determination. I couldn't let the past dictate my future, nor let my family's legacy fall into the wrong hands. That night, I locked the doors and double-checked the windows. The house felt less like a sanctuary and more like a trap. Shadows moved outside, and I wondered how many eyes watched from the darkness. Sleep was elusive. I kept thinking about the key, the letter, and the secrets yet to be uncovered. Someone was trying to scare me away, but I was far from giving up. The battle for Somerset House, and the truth, had only just begun. The following morning, I awoke with a new sense of urgency. The threats were no longer distant warnings but real and immediate dangers. Somerset House held secrets deeper than I had imagined, and I was determined to uncover them. I gathered my courage and made my way to the hidden chamber I had discovered days before. The key in my hand fit perfectly into the lock carved beneath the old fireplace. With a gentle turn, the heavy panels slid open, revealing a narrow passage cloaked in darkness. Taking a deep breath, I stepped inside. The air was thick with dust and the faint scent of forgotten memories. My footsteps echoed against the cold stone walls as I ventured deeper, the beam of my torch cutting through the shadows. After several minutes, the passage opened into a small room lined with shelves. Ancient books and worn journals were scattered about, along with faded photographs and trinkets from a long-lost era. One book caught my eye, a leather-bound diary embossed with a delicate crest. Its pages were yellowed and brittle, but the writing was still legible. I began to read, and the story that unfolded was beyond anything I had anticipated. The diary belonged to my great-grandmother, Eleanor Blackwood, a woman whose life had been shrouded in mystery. She wrote of a secret pact between the Blackwoods and my ancestors, a promise forged in desperation during a time of turmoil. According to her account, the feud was rooted not in hatred but in a shared burden, an ancient secret that could destroy both families if exposed. The diary hinted at a hidden artifact, something powerful enough to change the course of history. Suddenly, a noise behind me startled me. I spun around, torch raised, but saw nothing. The silence was heavy, broken only by the faint creak of the house settling. I realized then that I was not alone. Someone else knew about the chamber, about the diary, and they would do anything to keep the past buried. With trembling hands, I closed the diary and slipped it into my bag. I had to protect this secret, not just for my family, but for the future that depended on it. As I retraced my steps through the passage, a shadow flickered at the edge of my vision. The unseen enemy was closer than ever. The weight of the diary pressed heavily on my mind as I left the hidden chamber behind. Somerset House no longer felt like a refuge. It had become a trap woven with secrets and danger. Every creak of the floorboards, Every whisper of the wind outside seemed to carry a warning. I needed help, but whom could I trust? My closest friend James had always been loyal, yet the shadow of the Blackwood feud was complex, and I feared involving him might put him in peril. Despite my hesitation, I arranged to meet him at a quiet cafe near Bath Abbey. The historic street seemed peaceful in the morning light, but I knew beneath their calm, tension brewed. When James arrived, his brow furrowed as I explained the diary and its implications. He listened intently, his usual easy smile replaced by concern. "We must be careful, Emma," he said quietly. "If what you're saying is true, then someone is watching us. They won't hesitate to stop you." Together, we planned our next move. The diary mentioned an artifact hidden somewhere within the estate, something tied to the ancient pact. Finding it might reveal the truth that could finally end the feud. But as we spoke, a cold wind swept through the streets, carrying a whisper of threats and broken promises. Unseen eyes tracked our every step, and the storm was gathering strength. That evening, as I returned to Somerset House, the sky darkened with heavy clouds. Inside, the house felt alive with secrets. Doors creaked open on their own. Shadows shifted just beyond my sight. A sudden knock at the door made me jump. It was an old woman, her eyes sharp and knowing. "I have something you need to see," she said, handing me a worn envelope. Inside was a letter from my great-grandmother Eleanor, warning of the dangers that awaited and urging me to trust no one. The storm outside unleashed its fury as I realized my quest for the truth had only just begun. The dawn broke slowly over Somerset House, casting a pale light on the walls that had witnessed centuries of secrets. The letter from Eleanor lay open on my desk, its words heavy with warning and sorrow. She spoke of betrayal, lost trust, and the cost of silence. Determined, I delved deeper into the diary's cryptic clues. James helped me cross-reference old maps of Bath and the estate. We found a forgotten cellar beneath the west wing, sealed for decades. With trembling hands, I opened the heavy door. Inside, dust swirled in the air, and the faint scent of aged parchment filled the room. There, in a carved wooden box, lay the artifact, a delicate locket encrusted with emeralds, the symbol of the Blackwood Pact. As I held it, memories flickered, visions of my ancestors, their faces etched with pain and resolve. The locket was not just a trinket but a key to understanding the true history of our family feud. Suddenly, footsteps echoed behind me. James turned sharply, but before he could speak, a shadowy figure stepped forward. It was Margaret Blackwood, the current head of the rival family. Her eyes gleamed with a mixture of anger and desperation. "You don't know what you're meddling with," she warned. "The past is better left buried." But I refused to back down. The truth was too important, too long concealed by lies and fear. We stood face to face, the weight of generations pressing down, knowing this moment would change everything. Outside, the storm had passed, but inside Somerset House, a new battle had just begun.